Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the inaugural episode of Superintendents Unplugged, In Depth with Davis, the podcast where we'll dive deep into the world of educational leadership. I'm your host, Addison Davis, and I'm thrilled to have you join me as we embark on the inspiring journey together. As a superintendent once myself, I understand the challenges and complexities that come with leading a school district. But what I've come to realize is that there's abundance of amazing work being done by superintendents all across our country. This podcast is a platform to shine a spotlight on their incredible accomplishments and innovative approaches. Each episode will bring you exclusive interviews and superintendents from various districts across our country, both big and small, urban and rural, as they share their personal stories, triumphs, and even their moments of vulnerability. We will explore the strategies they employ to tackle the ever-evolving landscape of education, from fostering equity and inclusivity to embracing technology and preparing students for their future. But this podcast isn't just about showcasing success. It's about fostering a community of educational leaders who can learn from one another, share their experiences, and collectively navigate the complexities of our role. We'll discuss the tough topics as well, the difficult decisions, and the innovative solutions that are transforming education for the better. So while you're an educator, a parent, a student, or simply someone who's passionate about education, this podcast is for you. Superintendents Unplugged is your behind-the-scenes pass to the world of educational leadership, where we uncover the stories that inspire, motivate, and empower every one of us. Get ready to be inspired, challenged, and entertained as we embark on this incredible journey together. I can't wait to introduce you to the remarkable superintendents who are changing the educational landscape one district at a time. Welcome to another episode of In Depth with Davis, Superintendents Unplugged. I'm here today with Dr. Adam Clark in Mt. Diablo in California. Doc, thank you for being us today. Probably just butchered that, but right. You know what? I got a chance to spend some time with Doc last week at ERDI, and I have to say, your knowledge of ability to really help educator providers and solutions get better, it was just refreshing, sir. So thank you for what you do to give back, to find the right opportunities, the right to lead the school districts, to really find solutions to come and penetrate our classrooms, to really help children. That's what it's all about. So, but let's talk about you. You know what?
No,
What's
absolutely.
going on?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. What a great conference, a great venue here in San Diego.
Yes, sir.
How can you go wrong? So yes, as you said, I'm the superintendent of the Mt. Diablo Unified School District, located in the San Francisco Bay Area.
That's right.
We have 29,000 students, 55 schools, close to 3,000 employees, and we're doing amazing things. Some of the great things about Mt. Diablo is that we are a very diverse district. We cover 7 different communities.
Wow.
We, everywhere from the extremely wealthy to the extremely underserved and everything in between. And so this really allows me to capitalize on my skills of just being able to serve kids regardless of their backgrounds or regardless of what they bring to the table.
That's awesome, Doc. And we talk about leadership. Leadership is so important, and the successes you've had, it's all built upon your vision. And as you transitioned and into your current role, what do you think some of the greatest attributes that successful superintendents need? Because you're doing the work, you've done the work, you continue to lead and be an exemplar. When we have superintendents out there that want to transition or are going through some rough patches, because this job isn't easy at all.
Right.
You know what? Some advice about lessons learned that you can kind of give back to the educational community about leading the work in such a sophisticated way.
Yeah, well, I think first of all, I often tell people, I'm not afraid to get fired, but I can't get fired. And the reason why I can't get fired is because there's so much riding on me.
That's right.
And so I think my advice to superintendents is you really have to work with your board. And I know that sounds like cliche, and often people think that, but you got to put the time in with your board. Yeah. You have to spend time with them individually. You got to find the things that really motivate them, why they got on the board, the types of programs and initiatives that they want to see going. And those are the things that you work with them on so that they can be successful, and then you're allowed to actually do your job in running a district, right? But you can't do that if you're not on the same page with your board.
You know, it's so important to build those relationships, having accessibility to board members. And listen, we're never going to have a fairy tale every single day, and that's the rich diversity we want in thinkers, and that's the rich diversity we want to support as we get better and create problem solvers every single day in our work. In your space, we know that one way. We're trying to find ways to proactively serve children, but we can't do it unless they're in school. And we talk about absenteeism, and you're doing some cool things that creates those spaces, and the importance of getting children to school and actively engaged. What are you doing well to be able to create that?
Yeah, well, one thing is that it might sound simple, but it is extremely complex. is I tell my folks and really guide my folks in, we want to be a student-centered district.
That's right.
And if you are a student-centered district, that means that you are partnering with parents, you are partnering with students, and why do students not come to school? They don't come to school because they don't have that connection. But if you, as a classroom teacher, as a building site leader, if you have relationships with students and relationships with the families, then you are learning what are some of the hurdles that they're going through that's preventing them from coming to school every day. And then on the flip side, when they do miss school, like, you are generally like, hey, where were you? Like, I missed you. Like, we usually talk during this time. Like what happened? Is everything going okay? And that's just at the basis. But sending an automated letter to a family who's going through trauma or some sort of turmoil, that doesn't do anything. But a phone call, or when you do see them, to go up there to them and look them in the eye and just ask them how they're doing, and just to show just true empathy of what their situation may be, like, that's at the base of the work that we're doing.
You know what, that so well, and listen, we all get automations that are sent out, and they get discontinued, they get canceled, whatever you want to call it, whatever, they're out of it.
Yeah.
But that touch, everything I read about your leadership style and the 3,000 employees you serve every day, it's all linked about relationships. And, tell me about it, but, they love you, first of all, but it's about gaining access to them. So talk about, what you do to build relationships, not only at the ground level with students, but teachers, to create the greatest culture for individuals to say, because you're filling positions, you're keeping the momentum, and your board's appreciative every single day.
Yeah, well, first of all, as a superintendent, and I know you know this, every decision I make, there's 50% of the people who think I'm a genius, and there's 50% of the people who think, like, oh my goodness, what's this guy thinking of? But what I have found that really creates that coherence is being very explicit with my message. And my message is always centered around students. And then you got to have that presence. You got to go visit classrooms. You got to go out to schools. You got to go and talk to people. You got to be willing. You have to be willing when something goes wrong and the press is showing up. You got to be willing to go out and talk to them and just be straight. And then what that does is that really starts to build credibility, and you start to become a person instead of just a position.
That's right. Hey, you know what? You become, other than the superintendent, you become a colleague. And this is what individuals want us to be able to do, is to be real. And, dedicating your time. And I did this. When I was superintendent, I try to punt my schedule from 7 in the morning to 11:30 in the morning to try to visit schools. Sometimes it got hijacked. But being in schools, it wasn't a walk in classrooms to do audits. It was a walk in the classrooms to really learn about what's taking place from a curriculum perspective, and to figure out what we purchase, millions and millions of dollars of what we purchase. Was it being used? Was it pushing kids to their cognitive demands? Did it ask them to be able to push their thinking every day? Did they take ownership? Did they demonstrate understanding? And most importantly, I can look at a teacher or a paraprofessional or a principal and ask them, what's working, what's not, what can I do differently?
Right.
So,
well, I think what you're hitting on is that return on investment.
There it is, sir.
Right? So, I mean, we spend millions of dollars on either personnel, on either services, or materials. And really, if folks aren't using them, or if we're not using our people properly, then that's a problem. And so you have to be able to spot those things out, be able to give feedback, be able to continue to fill people's cups. Education is we look for a certain type of person, and those people are perfectionists.
That's
and
right.
so when things aren't necessarily going right, you can't be there just to pile on. You have to be there lend a helping hand, to give them a boost, to give them that support so that they can get back in and continue the good work. But you always want to make sure that your resources and your people are being used properly.
Absolutely, and doing audits as often as you can. As you look at vision for where you want to go, what's on the forefront? Like what are some big ticket items that you're focused on now and then you aspire to focus on as you transition in the next couple of years?
Wow, well,
I know it's a big question.
No. Well, I tell you, we're focusing on math right now.
Yeah,
like,
okay,
math is
doubling down on math.
We are going strong on math.
We get some assessment stuff going on.
Yeah, we have our teacher leaders working right alongside our principals.
Okay.
Working with our facilitators, and we're looking at student work. We're looking at instruction. We're making sure that standards are being taught in every class and make sure that they're appropriate grade level standards. That's one thing. And then of course, literacy, we're really starting to implement a lot of the science of reading.
Good.
We're putting a lot of teachers through training, really trying to empower our parents, things like that. Of course, I want us to have a balanced budget.
Sure.
I want all of our positions to be full. I want our special education students to prosper. I mean, so like, there's so many things, but it's all centered around what's best for our students and why are we in this work.
You know what, hats off to you. I mean, you know, literacy is the foundation of all, but we want our kids to be competent from a computing perspective and conceptually understanding mathematical practices. And in that side of it is making certain that the standards you talk about are coherent and they're rigorous and they really are spiraled in that process so that kids can not just come and just, I would say, compute, but conceptually understand math, to have a staircase approach of understanding the analytics from a single-step problem to a multi-step problem, from slopes, whatever it may be. It's all important for us, and kudos to you for doing that. And I think the other side of it is, you know, it talks about you focusing on the mental capacity of not only your workforce, but your students as well, where that mental health side is a safe place every single day, and that you're creating, you know, wraparound services to allow them to lead. And, you know, that's really cool.
Absolutely. And, you know, one thing that we have to continue to focus on is that we cannot influence our students outside of when they're in
Man,
our
I wish
care.
we could, right? I wish we had that silver bullet.
Like you know, how many kids would you take home? Would you provide things for? Would you like you know, I just want to adopt this
I
kid,
know, I had to
this
buy them
family,
all.
those types of things, right? But we can't. They're just it can't happen. So then we have to make sure that when our students step into our building, onto our yard, get dropped off or step off that bus, that they are in the best care for the 6.5 hours that they're with us. And then we also have resources for them after that time if needed.
Yeah.
And so that's really what we have to concentrate on, because I tell you, every last one of our kids are just absolute jewels that we want to continue to polish up and just put them on display and just really, let them just show their worth and show their value.
Good for you. And we talk about creativity. I probably shouldn't even ask this question. You ever thought about a 4-day work week? You don't have to answer that, because then that'd be in the press. But I try to find ways that I could, be innovative in the ways that we can help teachers. And thought about doing a 4-day work week. I don't know if it works or not. I know some school districts may do it. I think Denver took a championship years and years ago at it. But I'm just trying to find innovative ways to help culturally to get people to come into the profession, because this is not an easy profession. So rewarding, but not an easy profession.
Well, you bring up a good point, because the education system, as we well know, is outdated. We have been working under the same system for quite some time. So I really encourage my people to think outside the box.
Awesome.
I want my leaders to try new things, to look at things differently. And if they fail, then I still need to be there to support them, because I'm pushing the envelope and I'm asking them to try to find some other ways to connect with students, find some other ways to show the relevance of what we're teaching to what our students are learning and experiencing in the classroom. And that's a tough thing, right? You got contracts, you got people who they were taught a certain way when they were kids that they want to go on and teach other kids that. And times are different now. Our students are not the same as when I was in school back in the 70s. It's not the same.
You know what, Doc, thank you for your, letting people know as they listen to this that at the end of the day, it's okay to fail, because they lead to successes and they lead to lessons learned in that process. But more importantly, your credibility as superintendent to give those individuals the risk opportunities to put them in themselves where they're vulnerable. They may not win, but you just show them care and try to find ways where they can get back on the saddle, get back on that bike, and be champions for kids every single day. I commend you for that, because that really takes it really takes a great leader to be able to create that opportunity.
Right. Well, thank you for that. And it does, as I spoke earlier about having that support from the board.
Sure.
So I have to be on the same page with my board of letting them know we're trying some different things. We're thinking outside the box. We're trying to connect with our students. So if you get a call that maybe we're not doing homework for a couple of weeks and parents are upset about that, then I need the board to know that it's part of the plan that we're putting in place. Absolutely. Or things that we're doing with assessments, or things that we're doing with how we grade and how we give feedback and stuff like that. Like, I want people to be innovative, right? It's just like, I mean, we're in the San Francisco Bay Area, right down the road from Silicon Valley, where like if years ago, if that same fixed mindset was applied to that industry, we wouldn't be where we are now with the technology that we have now. So we got to inspire people to think and to create and to experiment and to try to do things, but always the right way, and making sure that it's legal and it's within ed code, and that we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's.
Awesome. Well, folks, you've heard it today, on point. We're talking about helping students with disabilities. We're talking about mathematical practices. We're talking about being able to build relationships with the board, creating systemic approach to building the greatest culture we can here. You know what, Dr. Clark, thank you so much for joining me today. I see your passion. Look at the smile.
Yes, I
see many superintendents with that smile.
That's right.
He's still ready to rock and roll, ready to go.
Yes,
we can keep going, but our time's up here today. Thank you so very much. Last question. Best place to eat in San Francisco?
Oh, best place to eat in San Francisco would probably be the House of Prime Rib.
Oh, the House of Prime Rib.
It's hard to get a reservation, though, but if you can get in, go and enjoy it.
You know what? If you may know some people, if you're going to San Fran, you know what? This may be the guy to call to get in. Thanks for being here, Dr. Clark. Thank you so very much. Thank you for what you're doing. No worries. As you heard before, our Superintendent Adam Clark from Mount Diablo Unified in California, leading the work every single day, doing some cool things, has the freshest kicks, if you can check those out, every time I see him, keeps it relevant, but most importantly, he does great things for kids every single day, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for champions to be in the classrooms in the league school districts, and he's definitely one of them. Until next time, we look forward to seeing you on Superintendents Unplugged, In Depth with Davis.